This is 5 contract targets for the Dragons for 2027 ahead of that November 1 deadline. I'm Phoenix Trinidad. This is Darren Parkin. Darren, weird year for the Dragons.
Yeah, I reckon they lost 3 games by a point. So sort of golden point losses. They beat some good sides. They got belted a couple of times. They went on runs of momentum. But yeah, if you were a Dragons fan, you'd be amongst the most frustrated.
Yep.
Obviously, as our man Scott Pride would attest, they've had some difficult runs. But at the same time, there's probably enough there to think that you could sell that dream to some people that as much as they went backwards, it could be a step backwards to then roll on, given what they showed at times.
Yep, absolutely. So before we get into their contract options, just remember, this video is brought to you by ZeroTackle.com. Not only is it Australia's #1 independent NRL news source, it also has games. So test your footy knowledge with NRL Streaker or NRL Name Scramble at ZeroTackle.com. Also subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. We have plenty of NRL content coming out, including during the off-season. Now, with all that out of the way, let's take a look at 5 November 1 contract targets for the Dragons. Alrighty, so the Dragons, their rebuild is probably about 2 seasons old at this point. They're doing okay. As you said, you can probably sell the dream. So what would they be looking for who are they going to be selling to, basically?
Yeah, backline's probably the biggest area, but at the same time, they've got a fair bit of salary cap room. So you'll notice with some of these options that it's sort of towards the top of the tree, that the players that they would have to open the checkbook for, that's going to cost them quite a bit, but can be needle movers straight away, where they can come in and change things up. I think they're only, if you look at sides in that pack chasing spots in the finals, like a Dolphins or even a Manly who slipped a little bit, I think that the Dragons can make that level of jump reasonably quickly if they can sign a couple of these.
Yeah, so they currently have about 13 players signed for 2027. No wingers, so there's going to be an interesting video, So option 1, let's see if I can nail the name. As always, Gold Coast Titans, Tina Fa'asuamaleaui.
Yeah, that's right. Big T. He, if you look at targets, he's going to be at the highest end of the spectrum. Now, he doesn't fill the backline need, whether he plays lock or prop. He can certainly educate those young forwards. We've seen him at Origin level really excel. He's confirmed that he want to hit the open market for the Titans and then work out whether he accepts that player option. We mentioned, so this is obviously 2027, so the Dragons will have another year of development before that happens, so you can obviously try to sell what you think that might look like, but he'd be fairly pricey, but at the same time, the type of player that can make an immediate influence at that group.
I think they'll have to stave off the big dollars, especially with Perth as well. But that's an interesting one for Tino. So option number 2 from the Storm, Ryan Pappenhausen, of course. Clint Gutherson, probably not the long-term fullback. Yep. What do you reckon there?
Yeah, I mean, he's injury-prone. There's obviously the R360 spectre that's been looming over his head as well. Team tends to come up every year. He's so important and so dynamic in that Melbourne Storm system that they're obviously going to try to do whatever they can to secure him away there. But that the Dragons will put themselves right into the mix in that space as somebody that is a genuine match winner at every level that he plays. So they'll throw the checkbook at him. But I think, the Dragons would see that as a risk despite the injuries and despite what else is floating around, as we said, with R360.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of R360, one of the guys that is out of contract, one of the free agents that everybody's excited about, Jai Gray. So star spine player, does have links to R360 and also Perth, but Dragons should definitely be going after him.
Yeah, the little pocket rocket, 5/8 and fullback, had to step in at the start of the year. We spoke about the Dragons and injuries. The Bunnies were obviously torn to shreds, and he had to really stand up. He's the type of player that's destined, I would think, for a very long and successful career. As much as they might look at Pappenhausen, if they could get Gray over the line, I think that would be. I think his ability to impress under Wayne Bennett in the face of adversity, so much so that they obviously considered moving Latrell Mitchell, he'd be a really important get.
Yep, agreed. So option number 4, as we said before, they need some wingers. So we have Will Warbrick from the Storm.
Yeah, played rugby sevens internationally. Looking to move into that space. They've lacked the ability to, carry the ball from the back and really get repeat sets moving. So he could fix that reasonably quickly. Obviously, there are questions around his defence, given the background and the style that he's been used to playing. But if you look at options available, the pros would outweigh the cons for him.
Yep. Absolutely. And our last option, Josh Curran from the Bulldogs. So back to the forwards and some hard-hitting experience in this one.
Yeah, they've got a decent crop of youngsters, but obviously getting somebody that can mentor that group and be a little bit more hard-nosed and physically mature would be a good way to go for them. They won't be the only club chasing him, but the Dragons probably have a little bit more cash, maybe, to an even length of deal and those sorts of things to get him across the line. So, they might be ahead if they, depending on what they can bring to the table, salary cap wise.
Yep, absolutely worth a play. So that's our 5 options. Thank you, Darren. Let us know in the comments what you think of our 5 contract options for the Dragons for 2027. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already, and we'll catch you on the next one.